Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Steel Flyers Show. This is Draft Central for the Philadelphia Flyers. Boy, look at the lineup we got for you right now. Lance Green, we got right there. How you doing, buddy?
All right.
Yeah, man.
Ready.
We got the Pearls of Wisdom up there. How you doing, Pearlo?
Cheers, brother. Doing
Yeah, man.
fantastic. It's draft time. How
That's
could it
right.
not be fantastic?
That's right. And how about that? Professor Joe joining in. How you doing, Joe?
Doing really well. It's a good, different time of the year as usual, but a good time of the year is always draft time.
I know. And how about that? That's exactly the amazing part. We're talking about the draft, and it's in October instead of talking about the beginning of the season. So that's what we're going to get into right about now. That's what we wanted to have this show about. We wanted to talk about the draft, and we wanted to get everybody's different views and different perspectives on who they think the Philadelphia Flyers are going to pick in this year's draft. So we're going to start right off. Lance, we're going to dive right into the deep end of the pool. Look, Flyers are picking 23rd. Who are we picking?
All right. So I think Chuck Fletcher has already kind of alluded to what he's looking for. He's looking for a right-hand shot defenseman. He's looking for some scoring wingers. And preferably, I would like to see some physicality come in it. And that's going to be my basis for this whole draft. Going off of that, it's going to be a hard one because we got no playoff hockey to view from these prospects, and there was no NHL combine. So with that being said, I think the Flyers will hopefully not go to Helge Grinds, 6'3" defenseman from Sweden, which is a right-hand shot. Hopefully they stay away from him. He does skate very well with the puck and all that, but I think we do not need another defenseman first round. The guy I would like to see, even though Lucas Reichel's out there from Germany and Rodin and Mornov are out there, I want to see a big guy like Tyson Forster, 6'1", 194 pounds. He's already has an NHL body. He was the leading scorer this year in the OHL with 36 goals and 80 points for the Barrier Colts. He plays a physical game. He's a sniper. He's an absolute sniper with a big NHL frame already, and that's where I would like to see the team go.
I like it. I like what you. The first thing that we talked about yesterday in our show yesterday was size, and the first thing that you said about that player was size. So I'm all with you on that. Look, I understand we need to have speed, and we understand that speed kills and blah blah blah. But you need, as we found out this past year in the playoffs, we got completely physically outplayed in the corners. We got outmatched in the forecheck. So we need bodies. We need bigger bodies that have skill, speed, and can shoot. Joe, Professor, buddy, lay some professor class on me, man. Who do you think? Philadelphia Flyers, 23rd pick. You're the general manager. Who you selecting?
Well, somebody that Lance said was definitely someone that's on my top 5 guys that I would like us to go after. My top guy, just because I believe he's going to be a good mix of scoring and playmaking because he reads the play and flow of the ice very well, is Reichel, who he mentioned before mentioning Forster, because he's 6 foot only, but he is a guy that does tend to get into the high traffic areas, and he's not afraid to do so. So I believe as he grows into his body more and develops, he already well to AV, because obviously AV doesn't want someone that's just going to be, which Forster's also a guy that's going to play solid on the defensive end. So that's why I agree with what Lance said too. I would look for Reichel because I think you're going to be able to coach him well. He's going to grow into his body more. And he's a guy that's a good scorer. So I think he can kind of kill 2 birds in 1 stone, adding to another great defensive player that can also score to your force. And we know we need more scorers on our team.
Right.
So,
all right. Good deal. Pearlo, hey, man, what do you think? You're the general manager of the Flyers. What do you think? Who are you going to pick?
It's a tough one down here. Like we talked about it yesterday,
I
I'm
know.
almost tempted to trade this pick. But if I'm going to pick, and my the people above me are saying we want size, 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 and because you're not going to get size and scoring here very, very, very much. If maybe go with a guy that plays big, maybe isn't the biggest guy like Brendan Bryson. If he happens to fall down to us, I really like his overall game. He did put up some pretty darn good, some good points. I think his offensive upside still has a lot. There's still a lot of offensive upside there. Um, I do also like Forster a lot. I wouldn't be disappointed with either of them.
Yeah,
They're
that's
both the same type of player. I'm just kind of trying to bring up some names that hadn't been brought up all right now. Reichel, you're going to get I think we're going to get more of a two-way guy with Reichel. Um, I think Forster might have more offensive upside than Reichel, but I think Reichel would be much better defensively than both of them combined. So that would go well with AV. So I do agree that sounds like an AV type pick, but I might go a little bit off the board here, and it's not going to be a big guy, but it's a guy that I just can't help. It's Kuznetsov, the Russian who is small, but you would never know it.
yeah, plays
Like
big.
if you watched him play, he plays like he's 6'1" and he's 5'9" and he's got killer skill. He would be a great guy to basically be able to take over in the center position eventually down the road. He can also play wing. He can play everywhere. That's another thing I really love about the guy. I might want to go off the board and take somebody like that if I'm really going to take a pick here and work on size in some other ways. But I wouldn't be too disappointed with Forster, and I wouldn't be too disappointed with Reichel, or they're all really kind of in the same
Yeah.
grouping, have a little better strengths and weaknesses or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
Forster,
man.
I really like. At worst, Forster's going to be a third line guy that can play the boards. He's going to give you everything he's got every game. At best, he could be a second line guy that puts you up, gives you 50 points, and does all the things I just mentioned. So, yeah, I really like.
That's awesome. So, look, I I have my eyes set on Jarvis. I know he's gonna probably not be there, but I'm allowed to dream. Why not? He's slated to be a late first round pick, okay, and he very well may be available for us. So that I like Forrester's game too. He would be one that I would not have a problem selecting first. Either way, I think I like the selections that you guys have for sure. Now, with what we talked about a little bit yesterday, do you guys think that would be a good idea to trade the first round pick? Let's start
Can
with
I
you.
say one more thing?
Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say one more thing about there's a couple guys I was thinking of, but I don't know because in some mocks you see them higher and others you don't, so it'd be a risk at 23 that have size. Or obviously Colangelo's 6'2" that played for the Steel, and then Sault Ste. Marie, Yaomir Pitlick is 6'3". So that would be two guys with size, but those are more risks to pick at 23.
Yeah.
Could it pan out? Absolutely. But there's a more of a chance of it being the boom or bust rate there is not as far leaning towards boom as some of the other guys we mentioned. So it would
Yeah.
be a higher risk, but could pan out very much for you. And they have size and a good combination of skill. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go off the board with like that either. That's
And
why I
that's
figured to bring those guys up.
because that's good thinking out of the box too. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly with what Lance pointed out in the very beginning, and what we've all been talking about from the very beginning is we're looking for size. We pointed out that we got completely and utterly outmatched in the playoffs by guys that were hit us more and beat us to the boards more. So look, I got no problems with picking guys that size. You know what I mean? That's what I would be considering if I was you know what I mean. So go ahead, Lance. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a chance to interview Sam, and he was a great kid. I did a couple pieces on him even, and he gave me the time of day to allow me to interview him. And that's a phenomenal kid there with a lot of potential. I just think it's playing for the Steel this past year. It kind of may have been overlooked more so with bigger teams, guys and stuff. So I think he may fall to the early second round, but he's definitely a first round potential.
Yeah, and you're always going to have those tweener guys that might get, you know what I mean, where somebody on their draft board looks at somebody and says, yeah, he's a second round guy, but say, somebody else is looking at him and going, yeah, that's the guy we want for our first round draft pick. So you're going to have a lot of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go back to my original question now that we're going to ask Professor Joe. Do you think we should trade the first round pick?
I think that's really hard to say when you're at 23, especially going into a draft that's also this plentiful. That I know we've discussed in the past, because when we don't have the combines, as Lance mentioned, we haven't had the playoffs for these leagues. You haven't seen all this stuff, so guys you might have in your top 5 on your board, you might be like, "Oh crap, they're not there." So then you'll be like, "Okay, cool, let's trade down to gain more assets." Or you might be coming towards it and going, "Oh crap, this guy's still here. Let's trade up to get him."
Yeah.
So it's really hard to say when you're at 23. I have a feeling we're probably going to stay with it just because of how deep this draft is. I think someone that's in the top 5 of our board is probably going to be there at 23, but if we trade, I would say there's a much higher percent chance, sorry with the dog barking in the background, but much higher percent chance that we trade up than down.
That's okay. So you think we're going to trade down rather than up?
No. I said I think there's a much higher chance we trade up if we do at all, but I don't think we're going to trade.
Roger.
If we do, there's a much higher percent chance we trade up than down. In my opinion.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense too, because that way it gives us a much better pick instead of 23rd. What do you think about that one, Pearlo? What do you think? Do you think we talked about this a little bit last night on our show. Do you think we should trade the first round pick? What do you think?
I think the only reason why we traded, and I've mentioned it, and it hasn't been very popular with people that have brought it up to me, is that I would staple that pick to JVR and remove the contract if I could do it. Otherwise, then I would look to then we have some room for free agency and those big bodies that will actually play. We want JVR to play, or a shooter that's big and can still. I also think I like size. Everybody likes size, and it's great. But I think one of the things that we were missing wasn't even necessarily size; it was compete. The compete level wasn't there with the veterans, and that's pretty much what AV was saying.
Yeah, there's no
pushback and compete. That's why I kind of like that Russian kid that I brought up. He's kind of that kind of guy. Yeah. I love Konechny. I thought Konechny did well. But trading down is not a bad idea, because you brought up Colangelo, those type of guys down there. If we could get 2 seconds for our first, now we can take a little bit of a risk.
And clear some cap space.
No, I don't think we would clear cap space, but we could trade down and get 2 seconds from a team like Detroit or somebody like that has 3, and maybe go for guys like Colangelo or somebody like that. We have 2 picks now. We could take that kid I was talking about, the Russian kid, and we could take Colangelo. And we have I think that Russian kid's going to play for sure. Colangelo, like Joe was saying, maybe is a higher risk, but if he hits, now we've got 2 really good forwards for our top. Where in it kind of depends on who's there. In, of course, like we've mentioned, sometimes we have guys that fall down in the draft, and we're like, really, they're there. So we might end up getting some person that we never even thought would be there.
Lance, what do you think?
That's why I think there's a higher chance we trade up.
Yeah.
That's why I think there's a higher chance we trade up.
Yeah. Do you think we'll trade up or down? What do you think, Lance?
Well, I in my first article that I did with the 7th round mock draft, that I proposed an actual trade back into the 2nd round. There's tremendous depth, like everybody's been saying. I like 3 or 4 different players in the second round. And Fletcher has come out and said that he doesn't think the team will move up into the first round, higher into the first round. He looks to either stay where he's at or possibly fall back into the second. I don't know if we'll gain another second, possibly, but I could see them going after a third, depending on where that second round pick would be coming from.
Yeah.
And running into that, I'll just go ahead and run through my second round guy, since we talked about that already. Depending on how many we get and what we got in the first round, I think Fletcher might look at a guy like Alex Cotton, who's a right-hand shot defenseman.
Ooh,
Again,
yeah.
that wouldn't be my pick per se, but he's a big physical kid, positive plus player, goal scorer, had 20 goals, will fight when needed to. But there's another guy like Will Cooley. Will Cooley is my guy. For the second round, I did a piece on him earlier on in the year. He's an 18-year-old left winger. He's 6'2", over 200 pounds already. Another big physical kid that loves to lay the hits out on the ice and just erase people from the play. And to go with that, he has an absolute amazing shot, just an amazing shot, NHL quality already. I think in 18-19 season, he scored 26 goals.
Wow.
And this year, the shortened season, he scored 22 goals. He would be a great talent. Now, if we got another second-round pick, as Pearl alluded to, I think I would go the Tristan Robbins route. If we could get 2 guys in the second round.
Yeah.
He played for the Saskatoon Blades, and I think Jamie Bascal just did an article on him and got to interview him. I'm kind of jealous about that. But nice winger, 33 goals on the season, plus player again, great hands, can skate through anybody, another pure sniper.
Yeah, I like
Those
that.
would be my
He is a good
guys.
So you think it would be better? You think it would be better then for the Flyers, instead of trading up, to trade down and try to get more second round or lower round picks? So I like that thinking, because I think you and Joe kind of both kind of hit that one a little bit together. You know what I mean? What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, well, the playoff, if we trade back, another guy I like because of his size, you have to give him a little bit of time because he committed to Boston. But Alex Tuck's brother, Luke Tuck, is a bigger guy, plays similar to his brother. He's a little bit longer term, but he definitely has that straight line skate speed. You just need to get him to focus a little bit more out there full-heartedly, but he has those great instincts just like his brother, and we know the Flyers can use somebody that kind of just changes the momentum of games sometimes when they really look dry out there, and we've seen Alex Tuck do that since being on Vegas for Vegas at different times. When they look dry early, they just chip it up to him, and he straight line skates and scores on a breakaway. Well, that's one of the attributes his brother will also have, along with being a bigger guy that can grow more into his frame and be pretty successful, I think, type of player here that plays the style of hockey that every Flyers fan, especially that loves the old school style of Flyers hockey, definitely loves to have in the city. So I think he's a good one as
Yeah,
well.
I think we're all pretty
in the
much
second.
I think we're all pretty much in that boat, for sure. I think we're all that old style. We like that old style. We like seeing guys getting hit. We like seeing bodies banging, and we like seeing goals being scored. And you know, so yeah, for sure. I really like that. All right. Now that we've got some ideas for the first round, and then we also threw a lot of ideas in there for the second round, let's go into the second round and say, all right, now the Flyers, whatever they did for the first round is all done, and now we're into the second round, okay? So let's go with Pearlo. Tell me, what do you think? We got the second round, okay, and the Flyers are picking. Who do you like?
Well, I'm like, he brought up Robbins. I really like Robbins as well.
Yeah, Tristan Robbins, good player, yeah.
Yeah, he's on the smaller side. But I mean, getting a guy that can shoot like that in the second round is like rare to to come down to.
I know.
I would love to see. I see on a lot of mock drafts that Ryan O'Rourke gets down to the second round, and if that's the case, I'm nabbing him all day. I can't. I really can't see him getting down there. Big, huge defenseman. Maybe it's not something that fits into the fact that it's Philadelphia needs that, but that kind of compete level and size that he
Yeah,
has,
yeah.
sometimes it's just the best player available. And I think it would be, if you're looking for big guys who can smash bodies, he'll do that all day and the next day too.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Uh,
For
like I said, I
sure.
already mentioned one kid. One thing I did want to mention really quick. I think the reason why they're kind of, I mean, I would love to move up in the draft as well. Maybe even just a little bit and get a guy like Connor Zary. Although depending on Patrick, we probably don't need a center. But I love that. I kind of like that guy, and he sounds like he's slipping down. But I imagine what Chuck Fletcher found was the price to move up was just too extravagant. I think, and that
Potentially.
would be the reason why he wouldn't be
Potentially.
moving up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, all
But
right,
that
cool.
would,
I like some of those picks,
Foudy,
man. I like some of those picks.
Fruity, maybe another one there. But I liked all the picks that they said. But
Yeah, for
I
sure. I like all those picks you got there, man, because that addresses some of the issues that we need. You know what I mean? And look, we already know that guys that are going to be picked in the draft are 2, 3 years out for the most part, unless you're the top three picks. You know what I mean? So, Professor Joe, what do you think? Second round, who do you like?
Well, I gave away one of my guys already in Tuck's brother Luke.
Yeah.
But he's the top guy, and then Lance stole. No, I'm just kidding. But Lance and I agree on one guy in Coley. He was going to be one of my main guy to mention, and then Tuck was the second guy I have written down on this posted note over here. But a guy, other than being able to physically outmatch people, guys that play really big that are fast at defense, I've always been a sucker for. So one guy in the second round, especially if you get a second pick, I've looked at a little bit because he plays bigger and blocks shots is Soleil, Ronan Soleil, who played for the Silvertips, because he plays a lot bigger than he is. He just still needs to grow into his body more. But I mean, he already plays big minutes. He's on the penalty kill. He's great in transition, obviously, because he's fast as heck. And he's not just an excellent straight line skater. He's pretty good side to side and is a very good on the back check skater already. He just needs to grow some more, and it'll be a little bit of a project. But if you can get a guy that's that fast with some offensive skill, but also most guys that are that fast, a defenseman, tend to just be offensive.
Yeah.
Or that's not with the case with him. He still gets back on defense pretty good. I figured that has a chance in the second round, especially if you can get a second pick like we're talking about, to be a steal of a type prospect, because you don't see defensemen like that usually with his lightning speed that
Yeah.
are actually good on both ends at his size, that are willing to block shots and get into the dirty areas of the ice at his size.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, well, these are all, man, these are all such great ideas. Lance, second round. I mean, I think we got a lot of great ideas here, and I got to tell you, the one name that I didn't hear you guys saying, and I might butcher it, but I'm gonna say Emil Andre. Did I say his name right? Yeah, okay. And he's even actually a smaller player too, but I kind of like him. I like his game a little bit. That might be he might be a, if we get that second round pick, he might be that one guy that we could probably throw in there for that. You know what I mean? So I really like what you guys talked about, man, because if we, I don't think we're going to be able to move up. And if we do, it's going to have to be some kind of major blockbuster deal, or something's going to have to be, there's going to have to be some kind of major something in order for us to move up. You know what I mean? And I just don't see us doing that. And I'm going to go out, I'm going to go a little bit out off the range here on this, or off the reservation, what do you want to call it? I think we're going to stand pat. I think we're going to pick our selections, and that's going to be that. And quite frankly, I think we're going to re-sign Myers, and I think we're going to move forward with Patrick and get him on the ice, and we're going to roll with Patrick and Lindblom, and the guys that are gone are Thompson and Grant, and sadly Pitlick, but oh well, and Braun. So we got rid of the dead weight, and we're picking up some players that we're going to need in the future, and we're going to roll. I think we're just going to roll with what we got because we just don't have the money to do anything. And unless we do what like Pearlo said, and we drop a major deal for like if we can shed JVR or if we can shed Ghost or one of those kinds of players, we're not.
Or Niskanen if you
Or
want to give
whatever.
up his final.
Yeah, whomever. You know what I mean? We're not going to really be able to do anything much. You know what I mean? So.
Did I say JVR was $6 million again? I think I did too. I keep on wanting to believe that that's the truth. It's $7.
Yeah.
Extra million does keep you trades. That is a fact, though.
Yeah.
If you have an extra $1.5 million in a trade, that can be what haunts you trying to make a trade. But one guy I forgot to mention, I don't know if we're fault of us in the second round where we're at. That's more why I didn't mention him. But William Dufour is a guy that I had a 14-game scoring streak this year. He's big. He wants to hit you, and he is definitely willing to block shots and pound with everybody on the ice at 6'2" and still growing into his body. So he's another guy, if he falls to you in the second, also falls into that size with skill category. So
yeah, I think.
And he definitely enjoys people, so that could be a guy that turns into like a Tom Wilson-esque, just annoys the hell out of you, but definitely can score the key goals whenever you need him to because he has a very heavy shot.
Right.
So.
There you go. What do you think, Lance? Do you think I have a question for you. How's this? Do you think we package? Can we package? I mean, what?
I don't know. I don't know. At this point, I'm looking around the league and seeing guys that are getting traded. I mean, like the Rangers did, trading away still a talented defenseman in Stahl, but his salary is a little constricting on the team, and he's getting a little long in the tooth. But they also had to package a second-round pick just for somebody to take him. So that I don't really want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't
really want to give away a second round pick or anything.
This is where we disagree, but there was only 1 year at $5 million for Marks, and he's well past his prime. So 3 years at $7 million for a guy that so far shows that he maxed out at 20, it's going to cost you the first. And unlike you, I would do it. I would get rid of it for the first, for sure. Okay. I would get rid of $7 million for the first.
Get rid of Ghost and Nope. If you can get rid of Ghost and Niskanen, and I love Ghost, so I don't want to trade Ghost per se, but I mean, if you can get rid of Ghost and Niskanen, I wouldn't give a first to get rid of JVR. And I don't necessarily love getting rid of a veteran defenseman in the final year of his contract, but it's better than giving up a first to get rid of JVR when you have Zamula, you have Friedman, who you locked up, and you also have trying to come back again from injury that we all always forget about, Sam Moore.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the only difficulty is that everybody doesn't really look at as Ghost is, everybody still likes Ghost here and stuff and wants him to turn it around, but he's also a defenseman that has had both knees operated on. He's had a hip surgery in his past, and he's 27. Yeah. He's not like 23 or 24 anymore. And then, he's spent most of the year in the press box for us. So he's a guy making decent amount of money that couldn't even stay in the lineup over a guy like Hag that's getting paid a fraction of his salary. So that's going to be a harder trade to get rid of than we think. And JVR has been in the doghouse all year long too. He can total some goals, but he's a lazy player. In my mind, he skates like he has cement blocks on his feet, and he just doesn't want to play defense most of the time he's out there.
Yeah,
so
that's
right. I don't think somebody's going to jump at an opportunity to take on a $7 million contract unless we're retaining $2 or $3 million in salary in that contract, and then you don't want to. That's for the life of the contract as well. Before you could just do it for a year or something, but now you have to, in the CBA or whatever, it requires you to take it throughout the whole contract. So it's going to be harder to shed that salary than most people think. I mean, obviously everybody's out there, let's just trade Ghost and JVR for Line A, and that's
No,
not how it works. I mean,
not getting
That's not
him.
it's just
happening.
not
That's
that
why I
easy.
said
You
it
know,
would,
it's
it
funny.
would
We all
cost.
agreed on that. We all agreed on that fact that that's not how that works.
That's why I said
No.
it would cost our first, and I don't even know if that'll do it.
Yeah,
Detroit is about
but
the
to trade
only
Ghost
team that
would
might do that, and if they don't, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No.
So
No.
I
And
don't think it's easy to trade Ghost. I agree with Lance. Sorry for I didn't mean to
no.
cut you.
Go.
I
Go.
couldn't.
No.
My thing lagged for a second. But I was saying I agree with Lance. Trading Ghost is not the easiest thing coming off of 2 surgeries to your knees, and then I have terrible knees. I haven't had surgeries on them, but I have terrible knees, so I know how that can feel for someone. And then you had a hip surgery. So yeah, I mean, I do think though at 4 million, that's definitely a lot easier to trade for a 27-year-old defenseman that showed he had the skating legs a bit under him. He didn't show his skill was back yet, but he showed he had his skating legs back when he came back in the scrimmages and play before return to play, the exhibition games, and then the whatever we called the play-in
Round
games
robins.
that we ended up
Yeah.
coming in place.
See.
Yeah.
I disagree.
So I mean, he puts in on some. I think it's easier to trade him than JVR because he has a lesser cap
Now
hit
that I agree.
and he's younger.
Yeah.
And but that's more what I'm getting. Where I don't think he's easy to trade, but he's easier to trade than JVR's. But like, I don't think if you want to trade Ghost, you're ever going to have to give up a first. You
Right.
might have to
Right.
give pick. I think you had to give up is the one we don't have. I think the pick you would have had to give up was actually a third probably to trade Ghost because then you wouldn't have to give up your second. But because you don't have your third, now you would probably have to give up your second if you want to trade Ghost.
Yeah, because you won't be able to give your
'Cause I don't
fourth.
think probably not. No,
Yeah.
most likely.
See, I
don't think
disagree.
so.
I think Ghost has more value than we realize. And the reason why I say that is because there is a team out there that potentially looks at him as a top 6 or a top 4 defenseman. Whether we feel that or not, we don't know. Nobody's saying anything. Yeah. I'm hoping and praying on that too. Because like it would be nice if Florida could come calling, or Arizona, or a team that's got a lot of cap
Calgary,
space, or
maybe.
Calgary, or anybody. I don't care who. I don't care, because quite honestly, I don't think Ghost is going to fit into our system. I hate to see him go. I really, really like having him in Philadelphia, but he does not fit into the AV system. He is not bought in, and until he does, and until that happens, he's just not going to be here. And I would much rather get something for that guy, and he's the only one I think that has any value over JVR, because JVR's contract just puts him out of touch with everything. With anybody. Nobody wants to eat that contract, and we can't afford, as a team, the Flyers cannot afford to eat that money for the entire life of his contract, because we're trying to get rid of money, not trying to eat money. You know what I mean? So I think if we're going to trade Ghost, that's going to be the way it's going to happen. It's going to be Ghost. He's going to be the one, and that'll give us that little bit of extra money. That's just my opinion. So there you go. I put it out there.
Well, the only other way to trade Ghost too, now that we don't have our third round pick, excuse me, which is a way I think you could have got rid of him easier, is giving up probably a forward you don't necessarily want to give up, but a team would like, because the Flyers have a lot of quote-unquote NHL-ready forwards that are knocking on the door. So if you trade one of them, that might sweeten it, or they might already want an NHL-ready forward, which would then probably be asking for, at minimum, Michael Raffle, but I would think the guy they would be asking for would probably be potentially Scott Lawton, which I don't really like doing. That does not make me warm and fuzzy inside whatsoever.
Yeah.
So
that's how you know you're right. If it doesn't make you feel good, that's probably what you're like.
Lance, what do you think? You obviously agree with that one, right?
Yeah, I think a guy, if anybody is going to be a package deal, most of our prospects that are NHL ready have already come up. We're about a year or so away from the next crop coming up. I think that Scott Lawton is definitely a name that would be on everybody's add-in list if they had to take on a contract of Ghosts or JVRs, just because his versatility to be able to play wing, play center, play power play time, play penalty kill time. He does it all for us. He's a guy that I don't know why we kept around for so long. He took quite a while to develop. But now that he has, watch out. I mean, he's an integral part to this team, and it definitely fits into this system. I would hate to see him go, but if it was to be able to relieve that kind of contract that JVR has or something like that, I think we got to do whatever we got to do to sign back Myers. I mean, he's a top 4 defenseman for us. Like it or not, like we need the money to sign him back, and we need to figure it out quick.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's a great point, Lance, because this is the reason why we're delaying impossible inevitable that we'll have to buy out his contract anyways.
Yeah.
Because of this situation. At least if we wait a year and hope the heck, I don't know, maybe magically he turns into the JVR we all projected JVR to be for 1 year, but the longer we can wait with it, the less it's going to hurt on the cap for the next couple of years to buy him out. That's why I say if Detroit, who's got tons of cap room and is not looking to be in the mix for next couple of years, is willing to take, and I agree with Lance as well. Most GMs are going to look at Ghost the same way Lance just looked at it. Why would I take 4 years for the next 3 years in this kind of climate? We has had the surgeries, and he wasn't even able to basically make the team through the playoffs. He would play in and out, but didn't look good. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
And give you something?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's only going to take a third. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because if I'm Stevie Yzerman or somebody like that, and I got cap space, I don't need to take your guy. I just don't need to at all. So you're going to have to make it pretty. They have so much leverage.
Take you. Yeah.
Cap space has so much leverage right now that they can go. We want your first for Ghost.
Yeah.
We want your first attached to him. They can do that. And I don't. A third to me in that situation is not enough. If I'm a general manager, it's not enough for me.
See, at that point, you shouldn't trade Ghost. I'm not giving up a first to trade $4 million off.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
One thing if I'm giving up a first to trade $7 million off my team, but there's no shot in hell I'm giving up a first to trade $4 million off my team. Like the year that I would,
because I'll make it work with Ghost.
I'll hum and haw on it, depending on whether it means signing Myers or not.
Yeah, well. Yeah,
that's really what it comes down.
That's the biggest piece.
Exactly.
That's the biggest piece for signing Myers. We need to re-sign Myers, and we're going to have to do something that we potentially don't want to do in order to do that with the re-signing of Elliott and some of these guys still, even with a reduced price. Yeah.
Yeah.
That potential thing could also be that we all haven't considered, because we just never think it'll happen in a million years, would just be not signing Patrick, because you could just not sign him, and then that would save you the money there. He would drop, and then anybody that wants to sign him could sign him.
And you know what? If that happened, I'd be okay with that.
I'm just saying, I like Patrick
they don't
and
think
hope
he's going to play at all, right? Because I would cry inside, really, seriously, like that.
I don't know if it fully means that. It could mean that they don't know if he'll fully be able to play to the abilities that we thought that he could play because of his. I think that's more what it would mean. Not that he couldn't play at all.
Right.
It's that can he play to be the level of what you drafted him to be. So do you want to keep him around and have to pay him when you have a defenseman you know can play to the abilities
and that
you think he can play to?
And as an integral part,
also very much because what Lance said at the forefront is, I think most teams nowadays going to the draft look who's a great quality right-handed defenseman, because nowadays when you look at the best defenseman in hockey, you more so think of left-handers than you think of, other than Alex Pietrangelo, obviously, but like you more so think of left-handers, and now you got McCarr coming in to help with that. So, but those are the guys that you really need to get, the guys that can balance out your defensive staff more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that made a lot of sense to me
for sure.
earlier. That's why trading Ghost would actually be a lot easier if he was right-handed. Even with the surgeries he had,
Yeah,
it would be a hell of a lot easier if he was right-handed.
for sure. Guys, I got to tell you something, man. This has been a huge blast. I can't believe that we've been able to cover the first 2 rounds of the Flyers with all kinds of great ideas, great picks. Everybody had great ideas. And then we even talked about what we could do for trades or how we could move up or how we could move down. This is all part of the Draft Central set of programming here that we're trying to bring you guys, and we're trying to get you all prepared because we're all just as excited about the draft as y'all are. So we would like to thank all of our guests for joining us today. What a great show it's been. What a blessing it is. Pearlo, how you doing, buddy? How can we follow you, and how can we get in touch with you?
Wow, the fantastic Steel Flyers website that's just going to grow and be amazing. You can find all my work there under Steel Flyers Friends. Go to the website, www.steelflyers.com. Of course, I have Pearlo's NHL POW in my Twitter. And then you can get me on my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. And let me say, Lance, this has been an awesome first time I've worked with you, and I've loved your writing for a long time, and it certainly didn't, it was everything I expected. It was fantastic. It was great. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Right back at you.
Go, Lance. How can we get a hold of you, man? It's been a real blessing. Once again, we get to fly together, my brother. Great having you on here once again. How can we get a hold of you, and how can we get all your articles, and how can we get all your stuff?
Sure, guys. Again, flyersnittygritty.com. I'm on there quite a bit. Produced a couple of articles. And you can always follow me on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the numbers 39. And, of course, Steel Flyers, you can look me up on there as well. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. Professor Joe, thanks for joining us, man. As always, holding class. Man, we love having you on, brother. How can we get a hold of you, and how can we get a hold of all your great stuff?
Yeah, again, in the friend section of steelflyers.com, and my Twitter is at JJBorek, BOREK, 26, and then Pub Sports Radio and OT Heroics are other couple sites I do. And Lance, I echo what Pearlo said. It was a joy to be on with you for the first time. Definitely looking forward to doing more shows for the draft and just NHL in general in the future. And it was great to have the full squad together, per se.
How about that? Yeah, man. I like it. For sure. It's been a pleasure. It's always great having all these great guys on. This is what we try to bring for you guys, is all this great information, and we try to bring to you guys all the great truth. And to do that, we have to bring the best talent and the best people. And Joe and Pearlo and Lance, these are the best people right here. I thank you all for being here. I'm Steel Flyers. You can catch me at www.steelflyers.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Just remember, stay safe, stay strong, and hang tough.